What's up, guys? Stacy here from Becoming Financially Fit, and today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. If you guys follow my channel, you would know that a couple weeks ago I put out a video specifically talking about the major changes going on to your 401k plans, and this was because of the CARES Act of 2020. So what that video talked about was pretty much 401k loans and also 401k withdrawals and the major differences that were happening because that act had recently passed. If you guys haven't watched that video, I would highly recommend go check that video out first and then come back, because today we're going to be talking specifically about 401k withdrawals and how the changes have affected those 401k withdrawals. But before we get into the content, my channel is about personal finance, financial literacy, savings, investing, and I also try to throw in some entrepreneurship as well. So if you're interested in any of those topics and you want to see more videos like that in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell to be updated anytime I post new content. Okay, so now just to give you guys an overview of this particular video, what I'm going to do is for the first half of the video, I'm going to talk about what a 401k withdrawal is, just the basics, who can take them, what they can be used for, the tax consequences, the penalties, and things like that. And then the second half of the video is going to be geared towards the 401k CARES Act Withdrawal program that was recently enacted. So just to get started, what is a 401k withdrawal? In the simplest terms, it's the ability to take money out of your 401k account, and this is going to be the money that's vested in that account. You can't take anything out that's been matched that hasn't vested yet, but any vested amount in your 401k balance, you can take that out and you can use it for certain things. There are certain limits, and this was before if you were taking a normal 401k withdrawal, and those limits were things like you could take the lesser of $50,000 or 50% of your vested balance. So for example, if you had $30,000 in your 401k balance that was vested, you'd be able to take up to $15,000 in the form of a 401k withdrawal. So another question that arose from the last video was, what can you use the funds from this 401k withdrawal for? My plan may be different from yours, so I can say consult your plan documents just to see what you can use the funds for. But in particular, a normal 401k withdrawal can be used for certain things like medical care, purchasing a principal residence, or doing a major repair on your principal residence. It can also be used if you're facing eviction or foreclosure, which might be something that a lot of people are going through right now because of the whole pandemic. It could also be used for tuition, funeral expenses, and if you're about to go through something like a bankruptcy. So those are the different types of things that would need to arise for you to even be eligible to take a 401k withdrawal in the past. But in 2020, there's some major changes, so we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Another question that arose throughout that last video that I put out was, what are the consequences of taking out a 401k withdrawal? So there are a couple, but I just want to hit on some of the high points. The first of which is taxes. This is something that everyone's going to have to deal with if they're taking a 401k withdrawal, no matter if it's a normal withdrawal or if it's a COVID withdrawal. So taxes, usually your plan is going to make you take 20% out of the balance. So for example, if you were taking out a $100,000 401k withdrawal, you would have to immediately pay $20K in taxes. So you would only receive $80,000. So that's something it's pretty standard to take about 20%, 15 to 20%. Sometimes you can elect to take higher. Sometimes you can elect to take lower. And also, some plans will also take out state tax. So just be aware that those are going to be some of the things that you have to do when you take out a 401k loan, whether it's a normal 401k withdrawal or a 401k withdrawal due to the CARES Act of 2020. Another one of the consequences of taking a 401k withdrawal is the penalty. And it's a 10% penalty imposed by the IRS. And this penalty was put in place just to make sure that people are investing their funds and they're not touching them. And they usually tried to put this penalty in place to steer people into the route of a 401k loan. And I made a video completely about 401k loans. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a card up there so you can check out that video as well. But essentially, this penalty, this 10% penalty was put into place so people would be discouraged from taking money out of their 401k. So for example, the two different things we just talked about, taxes and the penalty, if you were able to take out $100,000 in the form of a 401k withdrawal, then not only would you have to pay $20,000 in taxes, but you would also have to pay $10,000 in a penalty. And that penalty is just, money lost because you're taking money out of the plan early. So essentially, instead of getting out $100,000 of your own money, you would only be able to access $70,000 out of your own money at the end of the day. So now a third consequence that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that if you take any type of money out of your 401k, then it's no longer in the market working for you. You're no longer going to be able to get the dividends and the capital appreciation. And essentially, if you take out a significant balance like 50%, then your nest egg is really going to be depleted. It depends, on your time frame. If it's a little bit later in your career, then it might not be as bad if you're taking out a couple, of $1,000 just to do certain things that we talked about before. But if you're young and you're just starting out your career and you're taking out large lump sums of money from your 401k in the form of a 401k withdrawal, then it's going to hamper the amount of money that you can eventually have when you go to retire at 65 or 70 or whenever you decide to retire. These are all things that you should definitely take into account before you even think about taking out a 401k withdrawal. One of the last questions that arose about 401k withdrawals was, do I have to pay it back? And the answer to that is no. When you take out a 401k withdrawal, it's money that's sent to you and you do not have to pay back to your plan at all. I will note there are some plans that won't allow you to make contributions back into your 401k account for a period of 3 months or 6 months, or maybe even a year, depending on the balance. So I would definitely recommend checking out your plan documents so you can know exactly how you can start recontributing to your plan, or if they don't even have that in the plan, then you can keep contributing on a normal basis. Before we get into the second half of the video that's specifically discussing the 401k CARES Act withdrawal, I want to ask you guys a simple question. I want to know if you guys are thinking about taking a withdrawal now that some of the changes are put in place, or if you guys have already taken a 401k CARES Act withdrawal. Drop a comment below and let me know if you've taken it and some of the things you went through so you can help explain to others the whole process. So now this is probably the part that you guys are most concerned about, and this is the 401k CARES Act withdrawal. So in the grand sense, what is it? It's essentially the exact same thing as a normal 401k withdrawal with a few tweaks, and we're going to be talking about those tweaks now. So for the 401k CARES Act withdrawal, there's going to be some tweaks to the limits that you can take out. So like I said before, previously, you could only take out the lesser of either $50,000 or 50% of your vested balance. But due to the CARES Act of 2020, now you're able to take a 401k withdrawal up to the lesser of $100,000 or 100% of your vested balance. So let's say you only had $30,000 in your vested 401k account. You would be able to take out all of that money in the form of a 401k CARES Act withdrawal. A big question that a lot of individuals asked was, hey, what can these funds be used for? Is it any different than a normal 401k withdrawal? And here's the big difference. You can use these funds for anything. It doesn't have to go towards a principal residence or funeral expenses or because you're going through a bankruptcy. These funds can be used towards anything. So if you're thinking about starting a business, if you want to pay down some debt, this might be a good time to think about looking at the 401k CARES Act withdrawal, because now your funds aren't limited to certain categories, and this may be a heaven sent because you can use these funds to do some things that you weren't planning on doing here in 2020. So now, what are some of the consequences of taking out a 401k CARES Act withdrawal? And there's two big things. The first of which is taxes. Yes, you still have to pay taxes on the amount that you take out. Anything you take out will be, normal taxes. But there are some little changes, and this might be for my plan specifically, but you may need to look into your plan as well. But overall, you don't have to pay that 20% tax immediately when you're taking out. So going to that first example that we were talking about, if you're taking out a 401k withdrawal and it's about $100,000, you don't have to pay 20% upfront. You can elect to take 10%. So instead of taking out $20,000, that would only be $10,000, which puts some more money back into your pocket. Another big thing is the fact that there's no more 10% penalty. So there's going to be no more $10,000 taken away from you just because, you're taking money out early before retirement. So this is a huge change. If you guys think about that first example, if you're taking out a $100,000 withdrawal, then you would only receive $70,000. But now, if you take out a $100,000 withdrawal, you'll receive $90,000 and you'll be able to use that money for anything and everything that you see fit. Another thing that I think definitely needs to be discussed is the fact that no, you still don't have to pay back this withdrawal, but you can. but you have up to 3 years to pay this withdrawal back to recapture some of those tax losses that you took in the form of the $10,000 in our example. So if you want to do this, or you're looking into, paying it back over the course of, let's say, 3 years, you don't really have to pay it back on a normal schedule. It doesn't have to be every 2 weeks or every month. This is pretty much up to you. So if you save up your money over the course of 3 years, you want to pay it all back to reclaim that taxes that you paid, you can do that. I would definitely say consult a tax accountant or a CPA or a lawyer that's specifically relating to taxes and the COVID plan, so you know exactly what to expect when you're going through this process. A lot of 401k plans, are just going through the initial setups of this, so they're not fully set up to, start to receive funds back from the withdrawals that we're taking out. So I would definitely say look at your plan documents, talk to your plan administrators, and also consult a CPA or an accountant when you're talking about what you should do if you're actually thinking about paying back this money within the course of 3 years. Now, this is probably the main question I got in the last video I put out, and they were talking about who is eligible to receive a 401k withdrawal due to the CARES Act of 2020. And there's a huge list, so I'm going to go through it and give you guys an idea about who is actually eligible to access the funds in their 401k through a CARES Act withdrawal. And so these are going to be individuals who were either diagnosed with COVID or have a family member or spouse or dependent that was diagnosed with COVID as well. So those are two types. Another one is going to be anyone who suffered adverse financial consequences due to the following reasons. And some of those reasons are going to be you were either quarantined, you were laid off or furloughed, you were unable to work due to the lack of childcare, or your work hours were reduced due to the COVID outbreak. So it's pretty broad. Honestly, a lot of people were quarantined if they were traveling, or they may have been laid off or furloughed, because we have about 40 million Americans right now in the workforce that were laid off due to the pandemic and things closing up. I know a lot of people had to work from home. So I would definitely say this makes it as broad as possible. So if you even think you're in one of these categories where you're able to receive these funds, I would definitely say you should check out this option if you're even thinking about taking out a 401k CARES Act withdrawal. So guys, that was just a quick wrap up of the differences between a 401k CARES Act withdrawal and a normal 401k withdrawal. This is only going to be available in 2020. So the last day you can actually be eligible for this is December 31st of 2020. I would advise trying to do this a lot earlier than before that, because there's probably going to be a lot of people at the end of the year trying to do this if they want to access some of those funds in their 401k account. So it's just something to think about, but I hope you guys got some value out of this video. I need you guys to smash that like button if you learned something new, or if you got some value out of this video. And I'm going to try to put out some more videos every couple of days on my channel. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, or more videos about personal finance, financial literacy, savings, investing, or entrepreneurship, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell to be updated anytime I post new content. See you guys soon.